In this video, we have big news. Bob Iger confirms something major in regards to Pandora at the Disneyland Resort. Hate to say I told you so, but we told you so. Up next on OG55, 55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of Orange Grove 55. I am joined by my esteemed colleague, Mr. George the Italiano. George, welcome back on the show, sir.
Thanks for having me back on. This is definitely a juicy topic, sweet juicy, but might be a little bit sticky too. So
a little sticky icky. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
George, if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely, you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano, and of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info, just like today's episode, folks. So sit back, buckle up, keep your hands, feet, arms inside the vehicle at all times, because it's going to be a bumpy ride, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Exactly. Let's dive into the party. So this is from our friend Scott Gooston, which, if you watch OG55, we always rep the Scott Gooston tweets, because he is amazing and a friend of the channel. And he's really concise and clear with all these scoops, right? All these news stories. I really like the way he kind of sets it up. But it says here from Mr. Gooston, Bob Iger today discussed the, quote, Avatar experience, end quote. Remember when all the people were telling us, George, it's an experience. It's going to be an exhibit. It's not going to be a land. He would have said it was a land if it was going to be a land. Remember all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you and I were like, well, wait a minute. Why would he announce something really minor at an earnings call? That doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are nuts. Maybe not so nuts.
Yeah.
So here we go. Bob Iger today discussed the, quote, Avatar experience, end quote, he announced last year that is planned for the Disneyland Resort. And today he indicated it will be a land. He confirmed it. Quote, we have one Avatar based land, Pandora, in Florida. We're going to put a second one in California.
Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West.
There we go. I'm going to go ahead and play Bob Iger's little clip here, and we'll talk about it on the other end.
We have one Avatar-based land, Pandora, in Florida. We're going to put a second one in California. That doesn't mean we can't put one in somewhere in Asia and somewhere in Europe, as a for instance. We have one Avatar.
Okay, and actually this audio clip was from our good friend Jack from DSNY, friend of the channel. Show Jack all the love in the world. Go to his YouTube channel, subscribe to him if you haven't already. But you heard it here first. We have one Avatar-based land, Pandora, in Florida. We're going to put a second one in California. Bob Iger confirms this is not an exhibit. This is not some temporary thing they're going to throw into the launch bay. This is an actual land. George, what are your thoughts?
Well, first off, I just have to say, too, that even if Disney hypothetically thought of the notion of doing a walkthrough exhibit kind of thing, which I can almost guarantee you that was never their intention to begin with, especially when Iger, as you had mentioned, he mentioned it on an earnings call. That's not something that you mention on an earnings call. But more importantly, you're dealing with a very high prestigious filmmaker who has been literally a perfectionist, who's been working in the industry for over 30 plus years in the business, where James Cameron is like somebody that doesn't do anything on a small scale. So to even if they were to have approached him and says, yeah, we're going to do this walkthrough exhibit experience, he'd probably look at them and say, are you fucking nuts?
Well, and that's the thing. This is what I tell people all the time. They took Avatar experience, right? And, well, it must be the experience in Singapore then, because they have an exhibit that's called the Avatar experience. We must be getting that. If it was that, they would have said that's what we're getting. They never said that, okay? They said experience vaguely because it was probably very early on in the blue sky process. They didn't have everything fleshed out yet. But common sense tells you that Bob Iger, the CEO of the company, is not going to announce this thing a year ago at an earnings call. His first earnings call, by the way, but when he came back to the Walt Disney Company, right? Over a year ago, back in November of, I don't know, like a year and some change, right?
Right.
He's not going to announce that at an earnings call. If it was like some kind of like Moana Journey of Water thing or some sort of like exhibit in the launch bay, he's not going to announce that. He knew back then it was going to be big. He just didn't know exactly what it was exactly because it was new. So he used the word experience.
And honestly, for how people take the term experience, now if it would have been exhibit, then I would be like, okay, now I'm but experience, everything that you do at Disney is an experience. It's an immersive storytelling experience. When you go on Rise of the Resistance, it's an experience. When
But
you
the
go
entire
on
parks division is called Disney
Experiences. It's the title. It's no longer parks, consumer products, and experiences. It just came down to experiences, which is everything.
Yes, and you're not going to have this guy, like you said, James Cameron, get on board with this thing and have it be some temporary, cheap-looking thing that they're going to throw into the launch bay or something. It was obvious. It was obvious from minute one when he announced it at the earnings call, and with James Cameron attached to it, it was going to be something big. Now, it could have been a land, maybe a whole park, who knows? But it was going to be something big. And people were poo-pooing us on Twitter, on YouTube. Oh, yeah, sure, whatever, man. It's going to be some cheap thing they're going to throw in there. No, it was always going to be something big. It was obvious. It was freaking obvious. And we got the confirmation today. Bob Iger said, we are getting a land.
And for the two films that were already produced by Cameron, the first one being the #1 box office, Way of Water #3, you honestly really think with how many more sequels, he's already thinking in his mind that, hey, if he could do Avatar 6 and 7, he'll do it. But we already are getting so far in the pipeline 3, 4, and 5 moving forward. This is something that was never intended to be, as you had mentioned, to be on a small scale. No matter what they did, whether it was going to go in Disneyland Park, whether it's going to go in Disney California Adventure, which you and I have our concerns about that matter.
And we'll talk about that for sure.
Yeah, but no matter where they put it, it was nothing going to be less than spectacular.
Of course. And you have to understand something. Bob Iger spent $71 billion on Fox. Well, actually, it was like 50-something billion after he sold a lot of the sports assets, right?
Right.
$50 billion on Fox. He's got to justify that purchase, y'all. He's got to. And how do you do that? You build a lot of park stuff based on a Fox property. That's why you heard Bob Iger just now talking about, hey, we're going to build one in California. We might even build one overseas. Why did he say that? He's trying to justify the Fox purchase, which I get it. I understand. It's a smart thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because he thought it was either going to be between that or Home Alone. So I mean, he probably he settled for Avatar.
He settled exactly. And this is the $1 billion franchise, one of the most successful franchises ever. As much as people talk crap about Avatar, and they downplay this franchise, 2 movies now. Between 2 movies, it's made what, $4 billion, I think, total, roughly. 2 of these movies.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you can't underestimate that. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to put money into this thing.
Oh, now, they're gonna get that dough.
Oh, they're gonna get that dough, and you know what?
But do you know what, OG? When they do use that money, they just make it look easy.
No, they make it look so damn easy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, this is going to be a big deal, y'all. This is going to be a big deal. Now, here are my concerns, right? Because look, we've been saying this on this channel since it was announced. This is going to be a land. Here we are. It's a land. Okay, cool. Now, where is it going to go? Now, this is my concern. We did a video recently reacting to Hey Bricky.
Yes.
And he made a really good case, and again, he's a friend of the channel. He's speculating like we're speculating. Obviously, none of us have special access or inside information. We're all speculating here, right?
Right.
But he made a good case. The Arendelle land that just opened in Hong Kong fits perfectly in this, was it Stitch parking lot? I
Stitch
believe
parking lot.
perfectly. I mean, the walkways line up. Okay, I mean, come on,
It was incredible.
I mean, amazing. I mean, even Bricky was like, I'm kind of shocked at how perfect it fit.
Yeah.
Let's just assume that Frozen area is going to go over there, which, hey, I mean, that's not a bad guess. You know, Frozen has 2 more sequels coming out. It's a massive franchise. It's a money-making machine for Disney. Okay. And the Stitch parking lot would be on the Disneyland side of the expansion, right? Mm-hmm. Makes sense. You'd have Arendelle. Well, they're not going to do Arendelle, which is $1 billion land, and Pandora at Disneyland. That's just too much. This Avatar has a strong, I'm telling you, and with Chris Beatty, the Imagineer, leaking that information out at, I believe it was IAPA, saying, oh, it's going into DCA, and then he backpedaled. No, dude, you leaked it. You knew it was coming to DCA. All signs point to DCA. Now, I'm bullish on Avatar. I want Avatar in California. I fell in love with Avatar at Animal Kingdom. But does it fit in DCA? No. Pandora as a land does not fit in DCA. We've talked about this in recent videos, George, right?
We have.
Where if you want to do an Avatar attraction in Hollywoodland, okay, I can work with that. But if they're going to actually build as a full-ass Pandora in DCA, how do you justify its existence in a park themed to California? I don't know how you do it. Maybe James Cameron can come up with a creative storyline that really ties it in. Maybe they say, screw it. Maybe they completely take out the California branding and they reimagine this park into maybe like more of a generalized Hollywood park. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I really don't.
And we had this conversation over the phone earlier where when we were talking about this very same topic, and I do wonder that if that is the case, and obviously Bob Iger said it, it's going to be a land. Imagineer Chris Beatty, said it's going into DCA. So if all these stars align appropriately of how they are announcing these things, Pandora more so is going to go in DCA. That I do wonder if the park is still going to be called Disney California Adventure, but it's not going to be called California Adventure as a park that is subdued to just about the state of California. It can have qualities of it, but it's more so an adventure park that just happens to be in the state of California.
It's possible. It's possible they go that route. It's possible they drop California out of the name completely and just call it Disney Adventure Park. That's possible. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you tie. It's tough, man, because look, if you want to do space travel in DCA, you can do that. We have, oh man, I forgot the name of it, but we do have a space program here in California. I forgot about, you guys have, in Florida, it's the Kennedy.
Kennedy Space, yeah.
Yeah, we have something out here, and I forgot the name. But you can tie the space program to California and do that perfectly and tie that into Avatar. That's great. But it's not just that. You also have to time travel, though. Because Avatar, the movies take place way in the future, don't they?
Not necessarily where you have to time travel. It takes a long time to get to the planet. So it's not that necessarily you're going into the future from the past, but your body doesn't age because I guess of how they have you in like a hyperbolic chamber type of thing for the so it's like time traveling without actually, but you're still taking the amount of time to travel. So if they use something similar like the technology that they use for Space 220, like how it kind of shows you, it gives you that illusion that you're traveling like high up into like a spacecraft, or they utilize the technology that they use for Rise of the Resistance when you're on the spacecraft and you're traveling before you get kidnapped by the First Order. If they did something like that, but where it's like you start out on Earth, where they give you kind of like a California space type of thing. I don't know, like still how you would do that though, because you would still have to call the land itself of Pandora. Like, I don't know.
I don't know how they can do it. I mean, if they tied into space exploration, California does have a history. Like you can kind of massage that a little bit and kind of work it, but it's like It's a tough one, man. And I'm not like a stickler for this stuff. Like I've said many times on the channel, when fans get out there and they're all mad, oh God, what does Cars Land have to do with DCA? It has a lot to do with it. Route 66 is very California. Car culture is very California. Oh, well, what does Pixar Pier have to do with California? It's a pier. Like there's piers all over the coast of California. Like it doesn't have to be an
Avengers Campus.
It's a tech campus. I mean, you can literally Google the Google Tech Campus in California, and it literally almost like verbatim uses the same tile work as Avengers Campus. You know what I'm saying? It's this stuff that they've added actually does have some connective tissue to the state. Pandora, though, is a tough one for me. Like I hope they take some care into how they kind of weave that in. You know, I hope they don't just throw it in there and be like, hey, you know, who cares? I really want them to take some time to make sure that it actually fits that theme. And it's going to be weird because, okay, so the Symbol lot, right? And it's another thing. The Symbol lot over by the Pixar Place Hotel, I believe it's around 30 acres, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pandora and Animal Kingdom is like, I think 12-ish. Okay?
Yeah.
So you can build a Pandora basically over on that side. But here's the issue. Pandora is already kind of a weird kind of like black sheep kind of land for DCA. It's already kind of like iffy on fitting the theme of the park. So not only is it iffy on the theme, but now it's sort of separate even physically where you have to travel kind of to the Symbol lot, right? Mm-hmm. So it's physically further from the park, and it's kind of like theme-wise, it feels very distant. That kind of concerns me because it's going to almost feel like its own theme park over there in a weird way. Yeah, I don't feel much connective tissue. And again, we're all speculating.
Do you think maybe that's Disney's purpose, though? Do you think because of your concern and my concern too, of how it's not going to fit in DCA, but they kind of want it to be part of DCA, but not necessarily where it's an interval with everything else? So maybe that's why they kind of have it in the park, but yet it's going to be a distance to travel to, so that way it's not part of the sight lines, so to speak, when you're in the park.
Yeah, it's possible. We have to just kind of wait and see. Like if they build Pandora at DCA, we have to kind of wait and see on how they kind of work that into the storyline of DCA.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern with it, because look, DCA needs a heavy hitter. It needs an e-ticket. It needs an immersive land. This is what it needs. I just don't know if Pandora is the thing, though. I just don't know if it's the thing.
See, and that's where, in a way, I forget who I was talking to. I think it was collaborator and friend of the channel, Michael Ebba. Michael, shout out to you, brother. I think it was Mike that said the issue with California Adventure is what more really could you then add to the park, because it's so restricted, because it would have to be something kind of tied to California. So what else would be more tied? I guess the only thing else that I could think of is your version of Zootopia.
Well, there's I think a couple things. I respectfully disagree with Ebba on that a little bit, where, you know, California is like a restrictive theme. I actually don't think it is. I mean, California is one of the most diverse states or places to live really on the planet on so many levels. I mean, we have beaches, deserts, mountains, you know, all kinds of like physical diversity. We have cultural diversity here with Latin, Asian, European, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's so much you can do. Like, you know, you can do a Zootopia style Los Angeles. You can do that. You can also do a Latin America land, which is very California.
Right. He did say that. Yeah. He mentioned like with Coco and Encanto.
Yeah. I think there's plenty to dip into with California. And you can do it, the Disney IP too, with it. You can do the Coco and the Encanto for the Latin America land. You can do the Zootopia version of Los Angeles, you know, with like the Walt Disney Concert Hall in like that Zootopia style. You can do this stuff. But Pandora, and I got a pretty good, you know, I have a pretty good imagination in terms of like how to fit stuff like in this park. I can kind of like even the Zootopia thing, like you can change it and make it work. This is a tough one. Pandora is a tough one.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around it too, because I think, and I hope Disney it doesn't have this mentality of where it's like, yes, we all agree DCA needs some TLC. They need to expand. They need some attention. But I hope that they're just not utilizing this blockbuster IP and just throwing it in there so they could say, okay, so now DCA is getting the love. Like, it has to still make sense at the end of the day.
It has to make sense. So what they could do is they could see the Hollywood land route is the best route kind of for California because Hollywood fits everything. Look at what Universal does. They throw everything in there. You got Harry Potter, you got Nintendo, it doesn't matter. It's Hollywood, right?
Right.
Hollywood land could be kind of like the gateway into Pandora, and I'd be fine with that. But the problem is that the acreage is not over there. The acreage is on the other side of the park, in the Simba lot.
Unless they were to do their initial plan, like how they first had it with the Eastern Gateway project, where if they were expand out the back lot,
right,
and it would go into the bus area, if that gets rerouted, then you kind of have you would then have a little bit of room there. But you're still kind of
you're boxed in.
You're boxed in.
Pandora is a big thing. Like when after going there this past summer with you, George, it was like that's an experience.
Yeah.
I don't know how they squeeze that into that bus load area. I mean, I guess technically they could, but man, that would really.
But Pandora, you kind of have to give it breathing room because it's supposed to be like the way of nature. You can't have it crammed where you're just shoehorning it in everything at once. You know?
You can't. And then a lot of people were questioning, well, maybe they'll just retheme the Grizzly Peak area. Again, James Cameron ain't going to go for that, you guys. I'm telling you right now, he's not going to go for some cheap kind of San Francisco style retheme. I like San Francisco. I think for that space, I think that retheme
it fits for Big Hero 6. It's not going to work for Avatar.
It fits for Big Heroes. It's a modest movie in a modest retheme, and it really did kind of enhance that area. It was already halfway there already. It was already Northern California themed, right? Mm-hmm. But for freaking Avatar, it's $1 billion franchise, a $4 billion franchise between two movies, and you're going to retheme Grizzly Peak. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. Number one. Number two, Cameron's not going to go for that, dude. And then you lose capacity because well, maybe not necessarily lose, but you're not going to gain anything because likely they'll retheme Soarin' and they'll retheme Grizzly River Run. You're not gaining anything from that. You know, the park needs to gain capacity. It needs to gain an e-ticket. It has to take the pressure off of things like Radiator Springs Racers. You know? So
yeah, because that ride's taken a beating because it's really the only true big e-ticket. Yeah, you have the Incredicoaster, you have Mission Breakout, but I mean Radiator Springs Racers is all around like the go-to ride of the park. It needs to offset somehow.
We need another e-ticket in that park. So if you can build Pandora, cool. We'll get probably almost guaranteed another e-ticket with that. And then assuming we still get the Avengers e-ticket, cool. Now you got two big e-tickets coming to DCA. Now we're cooking with some gas here. You know what I'm saying? But my only concern, though, how they're going to tie that Pandora in. And who knows? Maybe we're wrong. Maybe Frozen won't go into Disneyland. Maybe they'll use that Stitch lot for Pandora.
Now, if they decide to do that, that can make sense because then you're then going from Critter Country into Pandora. So that can be a little bit more of a better transition.
It can be a little bit more of a transition. And I think that Disneyland is kind of a... it's more high fantasy. You can
escapism.
Yes, you can definitely do that with a park like Disneyland. Because Disneyland doesn't really have an overall theme per se. I mean, technically it is kind of themed to Americana in a way. I mean, it is. But I think, you have Galaxy's Edge. I think you can definitely have a Pandora in there. I think that would work in Disneyland. DCA is different. So if they put Pandora in Disneyland, and then they maybe do a big e-ticket for Marvel and DCA and expand Avengers out and expand upon that whole thing. Okay. Maybe even Wakanda, you know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Because in the first Black Panther movie, don't they have the Wakanda Outreach Center? I think it's like in Long Beach or something like that. That has some connective tissue to the state. So you can kind of work with that. And they've even hinted at Wakanda-based stuff coming to the parks division, you know?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be kind of interesting? Because then they could kind of tie the animal base to both IPs, because then you would have Black Panther that would transition to Zootopia or vice versa. So they could have like both IPs over there where they kind of offset the notion of California, as you had mentioned. Like in Black Panther, they have the center in California. You have that Los Angeles style Zootopia, so, and it kind of ties into, the California overall theme.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options with California Adventure. Like, there's a lot of IP out there that they can pull from. Like we've just said, Zootopia, you can do a Los Angeles version. You can even do a San Francisco version if you wanted to. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? You can basically Zootopia-tize any big city in California. You have Latin America, Latin culture, which is massive in California. It's a sin there's no permanent Latin land in
yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't already have that, to be honest with you.
Come on. And it's massively popular with all the Feliz Navidad holiday stuff. Like, you definitely could utilize more Latin culture in DCA, and it would fit that theme perfectly. And then obviously Marvel, you got more Marvel.
Yeah.
You're going to step all over all that, and you're going to go with the Pandora thing, which is like the biggest shoehorn in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as like the Latin culture area, as I said, I would the Paradise Gardens area. I mean, that should just become the whole Latin themed area, because then you can tie it into with Coco, which then would tie into Pixar Pier. So it all fits in perfectly. So then you could still even add more IP over at the Simba parking lot.
Well, what you could do your idea where you get rid of Little Mermaid. Right. And you know how this is breaking my heart, because I'm a huge Howard Ashman guy. I'm a massive Howard Ashman guy. And that movie had a huge impact on the Walt Disney Company. It saved the company in a lot of ways. But what you could do is you can convert the Little Mermaid into a big Coco ride or something, right? Which I think Coco would translate very, very beautifully in a theme park experience. The colors, the music, everything. But then you can do, in the Stitch parking lot for Disneyland expansion, like a Fantasy Springs. And that's where you have a little area dedicated to Little Mermaid, and you have a little area dedicated to Frozen, like what they do in Tokyo, where it's one land with multiple fantasy IP. Maybe that'll work, Well,
and the thing that's funny that you mentioned about Tokyo is, offside of Fantasy Springs, they actually have an area designated that's just for the Little Mermaid. Like, you go into this building and it looks like you go inside, but it looks like you are under the sea, and there's like multiple like attractions. Like, it actually feels like you're under the sea. Like, you could do something like that.
Absolutely, you can do something like that. So there's options here, right? And so that's why Pandora, like, if they're thinking about Pandora, and look, you have one of the most brilliant creative minds right now with James Cameron. I think he is an absolute genius. He's an absolute genius, and he's working with Imagineering. He is, and his team is working with them. We even had a picture with, I forgot who the gentleman's name was. I do apologize, but he even took a picture outside of Imagineering just a couple months ago, saying he was working with WDI on something special for the parks. It's probably his DCA thing for sure. They might be able to work this Avatar thing into California Adventure and make it work, and I'm open-minded to that. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous about how they're going to do it. Because I mean, we'll see, But DCA needs the love, and I'm glad DCA is getting some love. I just don't know if this is the IP for that park, though.
Yeah, when it comes to, like, the entertainment value, there's only a handful of people that you can kind of say are cinematic geniuses. Walt Disney, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, James Cameron. With hands down.
Absolutely. So, George, let's talk a little bit about the fan response today. Let's get canceled for a second.
Why not? Let's do it.
Fuck it, right? Why not? No, but in all seriousness, I'm
actually surprised, to be honest with you, because I remember back in the times, which, regardless of how you feel about certain people who are in the company right now, regardless of how you see the films that are coming out or what have you, this was something that was supposed to be good and positive today. And I am so used to seeing fans react with excitement and like, oh, I can't wait. I can't. And yes, I will admit, I was a person when they made the announcement back in 2011 that Avatar was going to go in Animal Kingdom. I was scratching my head at that. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
I was still optimistic.
Right.
And I still let Disney play. Exactly. Wait till you actually see what it's going to be, then experience it for yourself, then give your full on personal opinion on it. But the fact that you're just going by a statement and you're just completely naysaying it and with the negativity and the hatred, and it's like, I just don't get it. I don't understand the mentality of sometimes of how the Disney community works, because I don't get it.
They complain when we don't get announcements, right? Well, why isn't Iger announcing anything? Iger announces something today. He gives us a little bit of news. Well, why is he giving us this? Why isn't he giving us more? It's like, you can't win. You can't fucking win, and that's what really drives me nuts. And then there's all this complaining about, oh well, how long is it going to take? It's like, look, let's be honest. Disneyland Resort isn't Walt Disney World. For some reason, Disney World takes forever to build anything. Tron, all of it, right? Disneyland Resort, they bulldozed backstage buildings, and they built Runaway Railway from scratch, from the ground up, pretty quickly during the pandemic. Avengers Campus went up pretty quickly again during the pandemic. For some reason, and again, I don't know why, and I don't think it's a good thing necessarily, but Disneyland, or Disney in general, they seem to kind of put a little bit of a hustle and bustle in the Disneyland Resort projects. Disney World, they really drag their fucking feet. So if we get Pandora, it's not going to take us 9 years to get it, y'all. You're not going to. That drives me crazy too. It's like, oh, how long is it going to take? It's like, come on, you're never fucking happy. You're never happy.
Like, no, you're not. It's like you give a little, and it's like they still want more. You give a little more, they still. It's like it's never enough. And
well, they could have given us this. They could have given us that. And then when they do give us this and they do give us that at D23, you're still going to complain. Well, where's the rest? Where's the rest? When they announced Epic Universe, we had no information on any of this stuff.
But people were excited.
Yes, and the only information we got about Epic Universe is from scoopers like Alicia Stella, who had inside information. The official stuff, though, coming from Comcast Universal, took years. Like they didn't even officially announce the lands, what lands were going to be in there until recently. We all knew it because of people like Alicia Stella and because of people like Theme Park Wizard, friend of the channel.
And yet we still don't even know details about each individual attraction. We don't know what the Dark Universe rides are going to look like. We don't know what the Ministry of Magic ride looks like yet.
No, and we hear scoops and rumors and stuff from our community, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Universal's not giving you any of that. But for some reason, if Disney doesn't give you the whole fucking kit and caboodle, it's like, holy shit, why aren't they giving me more? It's like, and then they give you more and you still hate it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm excited for this, but like I said, I have concerns, okay? I hope if it's going into DCA, I hope they respect the park. If they can't do the California thing, then reimagine the park's theme totally where it works. And I'm fine with that. But just make it make sense. That's all I'm asking. Otherwise, I'm on board. I love DCA. I give DC all the good stuff because right now Disneyland is way fucking ahead. DCA needs to catch up. Yeah. DCA was catching up in 2012, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, they decided that they're not really going to give a shit anymore. And that upsets me. DCA has a lot of potential. We talked about it in this show right now, the potential with the Latin culture. You can do Asian culture. You can expand upon that. You can do Zootopia. You can do so much with that park.
Yeah, it's unfortunate of the position that DCA is in right now. And then the IP that they're going to utilize for it. And I guess, we all have that concern. But again, even though you have that concern, I have that concern, we're going to let Disney play. We're going to let them take that blank canvas and paint. We don't know exactly what that full picture is going to be until we know for sure. But we give our opinions, we give our thoughts, we give our concerns. But we're not bashing it to the ground where it's like, okay, this cannot happen. If, again, I was one of the people that when they made the announcement back in 2011 that Avatar was going into Animal Kingdom, I was concerned. People said that, Galaxy's Edge can't go in Disneyland. That's not going to look right. How is that going to look? How could they fit it behind the Rivers of America? Guess what? They did. It looks perfectly fine to me.
It's this very closed-minded kind of mindset. Like you said, for years, even before even Star Wars Land was announced, I would hear fans in news groups and forums talk about you can't expand behind Big Thunder Ranch or whatever because there's all that backstage area back there, and you just can't get rid of it. Disney needs that. Look, if Disney wants to put something in their park, they're going to figure it out, okay? And they clearly did with Galaxy's Edge. They clearly did with Runaway Railway. So enough with this sort of like boxed-in mentality where there's a building there and that building can't move. It's like, come on, you guys. Haven't you learned by now? And how many naysayers did we have about the land? Oh, it's not going to be a land. It's not going to be. It's going to be an exhibit because he said experience. And here we go with the land.
Yep. Yep. Now, can we talk about something else about this today that a lot of people were touching upon? It's the notion that, it's going to be a duplicate of the Pandora at Animal Kingdom.
Evidence of that.
Nope.
He didn't say we're getting the exact same carbon copy of the Animal Kingdom one. And likely we're not. Disney, and especially Bob Iger, is a synergy guy, okay? He's going to want to do the new Avatar movie.
Yeah.
To promote the new movies. Okay? He's not going to just clone this thing. I'm telling you, we're probably going to get Way of Water or maybe even something based on the third or fourth movie.
Yeah, I really do. I think we're so far ahead in the pipeline with the Avatar franchise, especially after Way of Water came out and the success that it is, after many years later that no one even knew if Avatar was even relevant anymore. Cameron was even optimistic to the notion, are people actually going to... That he actually re-released the original Avatar in theaters, and it was a success. And then here comes Way of Water, crushing it at the box office. Yeah, so Cameron, Iger, the Imagineers, they're not going to want to backpedal and produce something that came out in 2017, that opened in 2017, but essentially got worked on since 2011. I guess, people can have the argument and says, well, they did it with Ratatouille, from Disneyland Paris over to Epcot. That is a single-based attraction that's based off a Pixar movie. It's not based off of Avatar.
Ratatouille is a small film.
Yeah.
A small film. It's like a Big Hero 6 or something. I love it. I love both movies. It's a small movie. You're talking about a $4 billion franchise between two fucking movies, okay? They're not going to do this small little thing. They're going to go big. Cameron, it's like the same thing with Universal and J.K. Rowling, okay? She's going to force quality on Universal. Okay, there's a reason why the Minion rides look like the Minion rides and the Potterland looks like the Potterland. Okay, it's J.K. Rowling. There's a reason why Nintendo looks like Nintendo, because of Nintendo. They push that quality. They are not going to do this cloning cheap stuff like people are insisting upon. I don't know if like people really believe that or if they kind of want that or like I don't know what that deal is, but it flies in the face of common sense.
Yeah. And that's why I posted that tweet with that meme. I was like, Avatar, coming to a California park near you, and I did the meme where the Na'vi were riding those I don't know the actual the water dragon things. Like that'd be perfect for the Way of Water. Like I mean, you could have it gives you the sense of going underwater or what have you, where they can use maybe a different kind of ride system or what have you, where like the scope is in a big, gigantic show building. I mean, you could do so much with it. But of course, the outer backdrop can still look like the organic nature side of Pandora.
Right. And here's the other thing too. To be fair, right? Because we're talking a lot about how is Pandora going to fit into DCA. We don't know the storyline for the upcoming movies.
We don't.
There might be some tie-in to Earth or whatever.
Yeah, we really don't. Yeah, we don't know. Like, they've brought humans onto Pandora. Could one of the sequels bring the Na'vi to Earth? Right,
and then there you have it. And there you have your California, whatever, So you just don't know, And that's the problem with our fandom is that they don't know. And yet there's all these opinions out there.
But they kind of act like they do know. They act like they already do know what is going to happen before we even give it a chance. We haven't even seen a piece of concept art yet.
George, they knew this was not going to be a land. Remember, everyone, all the experts knew that it wasn't going to be a land. It had to be an exhibit because it said experience. It had to be.
Oh man, it's like, as I
Come
said, we,
on.
we don't got not one piece of concept art yet, not one, but yet it just seems like everybody and their grandmother knows exactly what we're getting before even knowing what we're getting. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound rude, but do you work in WDI?
Yeah, I don't.
I
mean,
don't.
You don't. Most of the people that we talk to on X don't. Doesn't. So it's like, yes, everyone. None of us know. We're all speculating here. But at least when we speculate, though, we're like, we acknowledge we don't know, and that
Right.
there's a possibility it could be this, a possibility it could be that.
And we have our concerns, but we still have fun with it. It's like, it's that buildup of anticipation, of excitement. Where is that magic? Where is that the light is like dimming in the Disney fan community?
Well, and a lot of it is tribal, because you have a lot of people that are kind of rooting for Universal. And I love Universal. I was there 2 days ago with Theme Park Wizard and Michael Ebba.
I'm going back.
And he's going back. Exactly. I love Universal. What I don't like, and I've said many times, is this fan tribalism where you have these fans that are like almost rooting or using Universal as a catalyst to shit on the fucking Mouse House. That's my issue. You know what I'm saying? So you have this tribalism happening, and I think a lot of people are just sort of like, almost like crapping on it because it's Disney and they kind of want to, like, it's a us versus them thing, and it's just annoying already. I went to Universal. I had a great time. The team members at Universal were fantastic. Well, except one. We'll get into that.
We will get into that because we are going to be doing a Universal review where I will be hosting Mr. OG55 and Michael Ebba and Theme Park Wizard to talk about all their experiences at Universal Hollywood. So definitely look out for that.
But that's the thing. Let's just be fans and let's just enjoy stuff, right? It's okay to be critical. No one's saying you got to like shill for Universal or shill for Disney. No one's telling you to,
God, I sound like a Bob Iger dick rider.
No one's asking for that. But like, can we at least like, hey, look, I go to Universal and I have a good time. I can admit, hey, you know what, dude, Harry Potter Land is amazing. Wizarding World is amazing. I love walking through that land. Oh man, I really dig the tram tour. Things like, it's okay to like things that maybe aren't your favorite brand, right? But I feel like with these big announcements, it's like people that are like Team Universal. It's like, oh God, we got to tear this thing down because it's like a Disney thing, and like, it's like stepping on our turf. It's like, why? And even Epic Universe, we've made many videos, George. There's a lot to love about that park.
Absolutely.
Dark Universe, I am hyped as hell for that. Nintendo, I'm a little bit like, the Mario stuff is okay. It's fun. It's not earth-shattering, to be honest with you.
I'm more excited about Donkey Kong.
Yes, exactly. That's where my excitement is too, with the Donkey Kong stuff.
Yeah. Just the portals alone, the entranceways to get into these each land, because I'm very much curious to see of how their approach is, where you're kind of blocked off from the rest of the park. Once you go through that portal, you can't go anywhere else unless you go back through that portal.
Right.
That might be kind of interesting for future parks moving forward of how to, to utilize that same type of mentality.
Well, it's the Cars Land grand reveal when you walk in, and like when you walk in from San Francisco, when you walk in, you get the rock work, and you walk.
I love that. Reveal. That's my favorite entranceway to enter into Cars Land.
I'm telling you, man, chef's kiss. And then Galaxy's Edge kind of has that grand reveal, right? A lot of these new lands have that. So Universal's like, you know what? We're going to double down on that. Every land's going to have that in this new park. I think that's dope. I think it's a great idea. And then we'll see how that works logistically. That's a whole nother conversation. Operationally, that's a whole nother conversation. But I think from like an artistic standpoint, I think it's going to be great, But I think there is a tribalism here with this, where it's like, oh no, Disney's announcing something big. We have to kind of crap on it because, reasons. And I'm on this side of the, Team Universal. So therefore this thing has to suck over there. And it's like, come on, you guys. We're all fans here. Let's just like, celebrate the wins here. We just got news that Disneyland Resort is going to get a Avatar land, an expansion. That is fantastic. And I'm even more excited now than I would have been even 2 years ago after experiencing Pandora.
Yeah, that is true. It's like you actually got a taste of Pandora by going to Animal Kingdom, you experienced the Flight of Passage and the Navi River journey. So who knows, with the technology that is now going on, what more could be put into Pandora,
Right.
especially with a catalyst like James Cameron,
He knows
who
what he's
he
doing.
thrives on technology.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. There was a picture. I forgot the guy's name, and I do apologize. I'll have to look it up, and I'll maybe tweet it out. I think he was the producer of the Avatar movies. I
Oh,
could be
John
mistaken.
Landau.
Yes, there you go. Thank you, George. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He was at Imagineering. He was at Imagineering. If they're just gonna cut and copy and clone the Animal Kingdom one, why is he there? Why is
Yeah,
he there with Imagineering? What's he doing there if they're just gonna cut and copy this one and put it here?
yeah. Like,
What's he
wouldn't
doing
they
over there?
just, if they were just going to do a carbon copy, they still have the blueprints. They still have the same type of models and stuff like that. It's
Right.
like, you don't need the producer. You don't need
You
the
don't need
director. You don't need the
the,
writer.
no, you don't need him there. You have your Imagineers, and they can figure out the layout to fit Disneyland Resort.
Because I
Why is he
even think
there?
he did a little snippet. He did a little video thing where he said, I'm here at WDI. You know, we're working hard to bring immersive new experiences. I think he did
Yeah.
use the term, I think he used the term experiences to the parks. But again, you can't take the term experience and think it's anything less than spectacular, because all of Disney is an experience. It's an immersive experience of different levels of storytelling.
Bob Iger, I'm telling you right now, he came in. He came in a little over a year ago. In that first earnings call, he wanted to bring Avatar to California. He said the word experience because they didn't really flesh out their plan yet. So he kept it vague because he didn't know it could be a land. It might be something lesser. We don't know, or it could be something bigger. So he wanted to give the Imagineers wiggle room to work with. He didn't want to box them into something right out the gate. That's why he used experience. But the fact that he announced it at an earnings call shows you that they had big plans from the beginning for it, whether it was a land, a park, whatever. They didn't think it was going to be a Moana Journey of Water thing. Okay.
Right.
Obviously, from the beginning, they knew they wanted big. They didn't know how big, so they went with the experience. I was telling
Oh,
people that.
honestly, I think if they did an Avatar version of Moana Journey of Water, I think Cameron would have had them all committed.
Dude, I'm telling you, and people were saying that too. People were literally suggesting that that's what they were going to do.
Now, let me ask you this too, OG, because we talked about this before, and I thought this was quite interesting too, because you had mentioned this from previous conversations and videos ago, that another reason why Iger could have used the term experience at the time, because of not knowing the direction of where Disneyland Forward was going to go.
That's another thing.
There is a
Exactly.
possibility that because he was so comfortable to use the term land now,
He knows.
he knows. There's
He
more
knows.
behind the scenes that they're letting on to us yet. But I think they kind of have a bigger idea that Disneyland Forward is pretty much greenlit.
It's going to be greenlit. And there's going to be give or take here and there. Like, I don't think Disney's going to get every single thing they want. No. I mean,
Yeah.
the city will have some issues with this thing or that thing, but for the most part, I think Disney's going to get what they
Yeah,
what they
I
want.
think so too. I think they're going to get some grunts and groans, some
Mm,
snippy, nitpicky people, about it. But I think, yeah, for the most part, they'll have some like little bumps, little bunny hills, I'll say. That but it's nothing that Disney can't handle.
right. So you have Governor Gavin Newsom. He was visiting Disneyland Resort. I forgot when that was, but it wasn't that long ago. Like maybe less than a year ago.
Yeah, I was going to say within a year's time.
Yeah, within a year, he was there and he was looking at all the plans for Disneyland Forward. Okay, all but endorsing the plan, right? The top Democrat in the state is basically endorsing this thing. We have a Democrat mayor in Anaheim. You think she's gonna buck the top Democrat, Gavin Newsom, on this? No, of course not. I'm telling you, this thing is gonna go through. Okay,
Yeah.
it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. Now, anything can happen. I'm not saying that it's a for sure. I think it's extremely unlikely for it to get completely shot down.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
gonna happen. And Iger knows that. I'm sure that he has connections to people, and I'm sure they're telling him things or whatever. And he probably knows the city council makeup and what each person's probably going to vote. They know all this stuff, you guys. It's they know it's going through. They know it.
And you have to think too, just because something is not being mentioned in the public eye at the time, they all go to lunch. They all go to dinners, and they all sit down with their suits and ties, and they have these conversations.
Apparently, we do too, George, with all our special accents.
I guess so. I mean, apparently, I come all the way from butt fucking Pennsylvania. Like, I have like all that special access.
I'm telling you, bro. I wish I had all that. I wish I was getting that sweet Bob Iger moolah. You know what I'm saying?
Because honestly, OG, I mean, I guess for people to think we got that special access, they must see it that we have it easy.
Oh, dude, we got easy peasy with all that access, all that Bob Iger money.
But the other thing is too, that we also have to think that's coming up pretty soon. I think any day now, and I have had some conversations with people on Twitter over it, is the D23 fan event. Right. The tickets go on sale March 26th, but nobody knows the time that tickets will be online. They don't know the pricing. They don't know the tiering. We know no specifics or details of any of this yet, and I think any day now, it's less than a month away before tickets go on sale online to us D23 members and the general public. That I think that was a great strategy on Iger's behalf to make these kind of announcements right before the tickets prices are announced, because that way, subconsciously, as a shareholder, as a Disney fan, as whatever you consider yourself, that it's like, you know what? Okay, now I'm intrigued. Now I want to know about this. They're going to mention even more of this stuff at D23. I'm going to buy a ticket.
They might even, depending on when this drops, they might even give us even more information on Pandora the day they announce the ticketing, because like you said, George, that would motivate people. Oh man, I got to see what they got planned now. Because what they could do, they could drop a piece of concept art or something like that, kind of vague, right? Like some vague ass art, and say, we'll give you more details at the expo. Buy your tickets now. Oh, dude, I'm telling you. I mean, people would line up.
That would be the perfect setup.
And that's maybe why Bob Iger kind of threw and planted that seed today. It's a land. So then in a few weeks, when they do the ticketing for D23, they give you a little bit more, and it motivates you to buy those fucking tickets. Now, that's a smart thing to do. Will they do that? I don't know, but I think it's a great idea.
It'd be a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
If they were to utilize that.
So we'll see, you know what I'm saying? But even if they don't do that, it's still smart, because now we know it's a land, and now you're still motivating people to check out the expo or the fan event in August. Because
and that's 5 months away. So if they mention it's a land, they automatically have to have some sort of concept of what this land is going to be.
Yeah.
To guarantee the fact that it is going to be a land. So 5 months later into the future, when we're at that D23 fan event, they're going to have to drop something.
Yep, exactly.
And if they don't, it's going to be downright ludicrous.
It's going to be so ludicrous.
Relax and take notes while I put you up on game.
It's going to be so ludicrous. Yeah, no, but I think they have to announce something. But look, we've heard our good friend Alia Aloha of the channel. She met Daddy Josh at the Adventures by Disney. She had a conversation with the guy. He's saying they're going to announce stuff, concrete stuff, at the expo. Could it be, more detail on Pandora? I hope so. I really do. And I hope too that we get a little more detail on the Avengers e-ticket, if that's still on the table. I think it is. I'm hearing things. I can't really say, but I feel like that's still on the table. So again, look, if that's the plan for DCA, we're getting the Avengers e-ticket, and then we're gonna get some sort of Pandora.
That's a great start.
Right. Theme issues with Pandora aside,
yeah,
that's a lot of addition to DCA, and that's what DCA needs. DCA has been so, I don't even know what you want to call it.
I mean, I hate to kind of say neglected in a sense.
Word. Yes,
yeah,
but it is though. That's exactly the word. It's neglected since 2012.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Again, you and I have the same concerns about Pandora going into DCA, but for what it is, it's not going to stop Disney from doing it. So just for the sake of it, Pandora and DCA, the Avengers e-ticket going into Avengers Campus, and honestly retheming Paradise Gardens to that Latin America, Coco, and Encanto. Again, just those three things. If you were to do those three things,
You're good for several years.
you're good for quite some time.
A while. I mean, Cars Land is still bringing people into the parks. You know what I'm saying? All these years, you know? So, yeah, you're cooking with some gas if you start to do that. And in Disneyland, probably going to get the Frozen thing, I think.
Yeah.
I think Bricky's right on that. But we'll see. We'll see how it pans out, man. I think this is very exciting news.
But we do have to still keep an open mind on that, because everybody thought Zootopia, Sign, Seal, and Deliver was going to go in Animal Kingdom. And they made the freaking announcement, yep, Zootopia is going in Animal Kingdom, all right, but it's going in the Tree of Life. You know, so,
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
so we may, I mean, as much as right now, yeah, I definitely agree with Bricky. I mean, Arendelle fits in like a glove in the Stitch parking lot. But at the same time, sometimes the usual, you know, things that seem like, okay, that seems too simple. You know, it may be something completely different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's why as fans, we have to be a little humble and a little bit like, we don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're like, we don't know everything. It's okay to acknowledge, hey, this is what I think might happen. You know, this is
we're speculating.
Yeah. And like, we don't know everything. We don't have all the answers, you know, but man, you see Twitter today. It's like people like talk like they're in the fucking room, you know, like with them, you know, like Bob Iger or some shit.
Man, like, yeah, today it was like Shutter Island.
It's like fucking crazy, dude. Unbelievable, man. So we'll see, brother, but we'll see. But hey, I feel way more optimistic about the parks lately. I feel way more optimistic about Disney in general. I do feel like we're starting to kind of climb our way out of this rut a little bit.
Yeah, the stock is doing good. I mean, it's so far so good. I mean what do I want to see it up where it was? Absolutely. But hey, you know what? Yeah, to climb out of the rut hole that we all were in, that every single person, individual, every single company that started back in March of 2020, guess what? You have to start out as a bush before you become a tree.
Right, exactly. You know? And you know a thing or two about Bush, huh, George?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
I'm just kidding. God, I just can't help myself with some of these.
Oh, come on. I had it right there. So you had to take it. You know.
I had to take it. No, but you're right, though. I mean, we're on the upward trajectory, which makes some people kind of mad. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of anger out there on X, but hey, you know what? As a Disney fan, I'm happy. I want to see Disney do well, you know? Yeah. And, you know, look, I don't, you know, necessarily, I don't like once Iger leaves the Walt Disney Company, I don't really care. I mean, like, I'm not invested in Bob Iger, but if he's going to steer the ship, if he's piloting my plane, yeah, I'm rooting for the guy to do well because I want him to succeed so the company succeeds.
Yeah, I mean, because technically you can't abruptly take a pilot out of a plane while you're mid-air up 80,000 some feet to bring on another pilot. It's like the plane's going to go down if you do that. You know?
People who think that Iger's leaving early, you're going to be very disappointed with the stock price lately.
He's not going. He's not going anywhere.
Come on, dude. Come on, that's not going to happen. He's there. They already have a succession plan. The stock is on the rise. You know, Peltz is looking like he's likely not going to get what he wants.
Well, and again, that's another strategy move on Iger's behalf because, again, the fact that Peltz is vulnerable right now of where like his position is of the route that he decided to go, what better way to then make these announcements to kind of showcase? Because again, if I was Iger, I would want to save my butt. I would save the board's position on the company, you know, for whether you agree with it or not. But if you had to have that mentality, you're going to do whatever you can and you're going to strategize. And I'm sorry, Iger strategized.
Yeah, no, it's Peltz. I'm telling you, Peltz is just he lost the momentum. He lost momentum. Iger has completely. You don't have to like Bob Iger to admit that either. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Like,
it's just the general facts.
Yeah, I'm not a big DeSantis fan. I don't like the guy, okay? But I can admit, like, hey, he fucking won, okay? The Reedy Creek ain't coming back. He fucking won. I mean, it's okay to acknowledge that your guy lost or your team lost. You know, it's okay to say that. Yeah. Some people are so, like, they're just out.
You're not, you know, you're not losing sleep over it.
No, but like there's these like Pelts, like Nelson Peltz, like shills out there who like, no, man, he's got Iger on the ropes. No, he doesn't. What do you mean he got Iger on the ropes? The stock's at like 113. It hasn't gone down since the fucking earnings call. You got 9 grandkids, no matter what you think about Abigail.
Yeah.
9 grandkids of the Walton Roy saying, hey, we don't support these activist investors. Peltz comes out with his plan. No one talks about it on social media.
Look how bad it was. I didn't even know it was out.
You didn't even know it was out. And George is on Twitter all the time. You know, no one's talking about that. You know, and honestly, I'm surprised by that. I thought when Peltz dropped his white paper, whatever the fuck he called it, that he would get way more media play than he did. He didn't get any.
I will say the 133 page, I think that's what it was that he got. I mean, it's definitely a nice storytime read to help me fall asleep. You know, just
yeah, exactly. We got to do a video on that, by the way, because our boy Seymour
is probably itching to get into there. Yeah.
And you know one thing about our boy Seymour, right?
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
And he does not miss.
And no, he's right though on a lot of this stuff. He's on Twitter talking about how a lot of stuff that Peltz released in this is very misleading, you know, and it is. And I want to bring Seymour on to kind of explain what he means by that because I think it's fascinating. But
yeah,
you know, we'll see. But George, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, as always, man. As always,
always a good time.
Always a good time talking Avatar, talking all this good stuff today. Expansions. This is what I live for. I love the expansion stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. But we have been singing this song since they announced Avatar. It's going to be a land. It's going to be a land. It's going to be a land. We had all the naysayers out there. No, it's not. Oh, you wish, OG. You wish.
Just saying. Mic drop.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, dude. Come on. It was obviously going to be a land. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not like we're geniuses. It just like it was announced on an earnings call.
Yeah. And again, knowing James Cameron of how meticulous he is with especially his material.
Come on.
Yeah, it's like no.
Dude, yeah.
When they were in the middle of making Flight of Passage, Disney had the ride system a little bit more thrilling, so to speak.
Right.
And it kind of wasn't really matching right with the projections and the 3D. It just wasn't looking right to James Cameron when he had the 3D glasses on and he went to Imagineering. He was like, you're going to have to dial this down a bit. It's just not. And they were like, well, we wanted it to be thrilling. He said, let the technology do it for them. Like, let them experience Pandora, not necessarily the thrilling motion of the Banshees. And he was absolutely right, you know?
He was. And this is actually one critique I have about Universal is that they really don't dial it back for anything.
No.
It's actually one of the charming qualities about Universal, you know? And it's also one of the things I think that holds it back, too, in a weird way. It's like, you know, it's okay to have those like explosion riddled fucking attractions, but I want to see Universal make a ride where you just kind of soak it in.
Yeah.
At least we don't have anything like that out here in California. You know what I'm saying? Just soaking it in. And everything is like in your face.
And honestly, the one ride that I will give props to of that kind of notion, not necessarily soaking it in, like as far as like the overall like immersion, you know, type of thing, but the one ride I will say, and it's at Universal Hollywood that I absolutely adore, is The Secret Life of Pets.
Oh, I love that ride.
I love that ride. Universal needs to feed off of some of that mentality and get more of that into the parks.
And we have the most hilarious picture from that attraction that we will share on the review show. I had this picture of Wizard and Michael Eva that had me fucking on the floor, dude. On the floor. It was so funny. And we'll talk more about it. But George, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George.
Boom.
You can also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
You know, speaking of EXO, before we go, you know, one more time, let's get canceled just one more time, right? I gotta say, look, I hear a lot of stuff from the conservatives, right? Bob Iger, he's very political, that's why we're mad at the Mouse House. We saw Bud Light, conservatives, Bud Light, political, this, that, and the other. Elon is running his mouth all day long about politics, and he runs X and Tesla.
But it's okay. But it's okay for him,
right? Let's show a little bit of consistency here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, maybe you align more politically with Elon Musk, but like, if you don't like the politics in your product, then be consistent and be like, yeah, you know what? I agree with Elon. It's okay to say that as a conservative, to say like, hey, I agree with Elon, but he shouldn't be spouting off like that about politics. I'm going to be consistent. If I'm going to throw shade at Iger for doing that, I'm going to throw it at Elon. I don't see anybody doing that though. They cheer for this guy.
Isn't that what started the whole BS with Reedy Creek and the thing? It's like when you bring politics into the mix, it's not going to end pretty. And it's like, again, I always use this term: what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Just be consistent. You know what I'm saying? Just be consistent. If you're going to sit there and say that Bob Iger and Disney and Bud Light and all these other companies can't get political, then say the same shit about Elon Musk. But they don't. Or at least be honest. You know what? I want the politics out when it's leftist politics, but I want politics in when it's conservative. I would respect the hell out of somebody who admitted that. Just admit it then.
Admit it. Yeah.
The fact that you say that you don't want the politics in, but you're okay with what Elon is doing, you look like a fucking hypocrite. I'm sorry, you do. I'm sorry. It looks very hypocritical. It is on both sides. And if you like politics in your product, then be okay with Iger and Elon. Then that's fine.
Yeah,
too.
You'd have to be both with both sides of the spectrum, whether or not you agree with it or not. You would just have to accept the policies that, if again, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're going to take it away with one, you have to take it away from all. If not, then everyone is entitled to including the politics into their policies as a company.
Right. Exactly. I don't know. It drives me nuts. Anyway, thank you, George, for joining us today. Thank you also so much for watching this episode of OG55. We're going to let Youngjin from La Seraphim close us out today like she always does, looking fine as wine. Here she goes.
세상이 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.